do say thank you for joining us, and we welcome you to the Mastermind Call with the Dreammakers Network this morning. Uh, so excited to be here in the month of February. We are into the second month of this new year in 2024. Seems like January doesn't get much time. it's like you're in January. You've spent the first couple of weeks celebrating the fact that you're in a whole new year, and then there's Dr. King. A couple of days, if you will, and before you know it, there's a few football games, and then next thing you know, you're out. You're out of the month of January. Just that quick. So we're excited and thankful to be in the month of February into our second month. And it is truly exciting to be able to look at what we've started and the goals that we walked into this new year with, and be in a position to begin to measure where we are, to begin to highlight any progresses that we've made. And these are things that for this network, for the Dreammakers Network, over the past 11 and a half years, we've taken every month to take a second, look at the goals, look at the purposes that we are actively working on, and assess where we are. And to more importantly, to be able to connect with other folks who are in their own unique lives are doing the same thing. To be able to stop the rat race for a second, as we are busy throughout the week with our jobs, with our work, with our family, with our community activities, and all that things that are linked to our responsibilities and our goals. We know those things take great precedence, right? But how often do we take a second just to reflect on, go inward, if you will, to work on the personal self-development? Where are you from a personal self-development perspective? Are you in a position that where you are creating goals, working on activities that truly matter to you? It may not be relative to your work, may not have anything to do with what your work is doing and what the responsibilities are there, may not have anything to do with what's happening in your family, may not have anything to do with certain organizations and things that you're involved in, but it's much more inward, if you will, things that you've outlined for yourself that are important, goals that you've set for yourself, may be very personal. Other people may not have a clue about some of these goals that you have said to yourself and said to God that this is important and I want to accomplish, I want to see it through. This is that opportunity to, I think we've tried our best over the past 11 plus years to allow this to be a safe space, and when we talk about a safe space, I think the way that we've approached it is, if there is a certain level of consistency with people who are also pursuing those goals, or their own unique goals, and just looking for a network of folks who can relate, because a lot of times when you start down a path that may be a bit foreign to maybe what your friends and family are doing, they may love you and support you in all ways that they can, but to truly add value to what you're working on, it may not connect. It may not be something that they can lend other than, hey, I'll pray for you and wish you well. So the purposes of this network is really to give you a community, if you will, of other folks who also are excited about the journey that they're on, and we all need somebody to connect with in these moments. And when you're working on things that are purpose driven, that are unique to your goals, and if you talk to people about this goal and this strategy and what happened and why that didn't come through, but why that one did, that creates a unique mastermind. It creates a unique mastermind that is focused on personal self development. And we do it all the time. Masterminds are created all the time just for the purpose of, organizing people to accomplish a certain goal. Whether it be we want to throw a party, and who are the best people who know how to have a good time. You want to make sure they are in the room. That in and of itself is creating a unique mastermind to enjoy the party and have a good time. That you can do the same thing for your goals. You can do the same thing for your family. If everybody is on one accord. The first time I heard that concept in The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill, that it was a very familiar concept to me, because even in scripture, it talks about where two or three people come together in my name, I'm in the midst. And so it highlights the value of collective thought, collective thought on a unique topic and a unique objective, a singular topic and objective, where you can create that additional energy, that additional power to help you tap into things that you probably would not have been able to do on your own. I was just sharing with someone the other day, might have been my daughter actually, I'm thinking about it, that, I try my best to communicate with God as often as I can, in terms of just one, sometimes it's a silent prayer, sometimes it's just throughout the day. But those moments when I am still and I am making myself available to hear and for to create a certain line of communication with God, I hear. I hear what it is, and it's interesting when it happens, because sometimes I think it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, and I was kind of somewhere in between, uh, just waking up and was just kind of resting, but was saying kind of silent prayers. And as I said my prayers, I just kind of laid there and it's, not too much thought, but just almost like a peaceful moment. It was almost like a bombardment of new ideas that were very specific to the prayer. And it's usually those kind of moments where sometimes you're in the shower, you're just kind of quietly, trying to create that communication. You kind of tuned out everything else that's going into your eyes and ears. We have to be careful what goes into our eyes and ears, because it could very well keep you far away from communication and getting access to what you're really looking to hear. And so I am always looking for those opportunities to communicate with the higher power, to hear and guide in these moments. And I think it's important that you can create those moments, even especially when you're intentionally approaching a mastermind, when you're intentionally saying, I need to get this done. I need to make this work. Who can I touch and agree with? Who can I organize with? And when you think about it, it's like the answer becomes clear, because there are folks who will be, quote unquote, about that life, right? Some folks aren't. Some folks are just, well, let me pray about it and let me think, and they get busy doing their own thing. But there are some folks who you just know, if you connect with them, you share what's going on, they will be about that life of helping to take what it is that you are working on. And sometimes I'll tell you this, and this is very important, because I've seen this happen, especially a lot within the past, I'd say 10 years, is there are people paying attention to your lifestyle. There are people paying attention to you. They are watching how you move and how you're approaching life, if you will, how you approach your business, how you approach your family and your relationships. And every now and again, someone will, maybe they may be divinely inspired to say, go and connect with that sister, go and connect with that brother. You may not know each other in person, you may not have a relationship, but there's nothing wrong with reaching out and saying, hey, just want you to know, I've seen what you've done. I've watched how you've built this. I see how you communicate with other people. I'd like to connect with you. Do you have time for coffee, lunch, or whatever, just to connect? There's so much value that comes out of that. And there are a lot of people who aren't willing to do things like that, who are not willing to kind of step outside of their day-to-day comfort zone. But man, there's so much opportunity that lives outside of our comfort zone. I just want to say that and be make sure it resonates. There's so much opportunity that lives outside of our comfort zone. Now we're in our zone for whatever reason, yeah, because it's comfortable, right? Is I'm able to pay my bills in this comfort zone. I'm able to, not be stressed in this comfort zone. Or maybe you are stressed in your comfort zone. Maybe you just got comfortable being stressed, whatever the case may be. But the question I like to throw out there, especially, and this is more kind of tapping into some of the conversations I have with clients and prospective clients. After learning more about what they're doing, how they're doing it, the approach that they're taking, I'm always listening for what part of your daily flow is growth oriented. What part of your daily flow is challenging and pushing you to the next level? Have you incorporated within your current operations just a lane or a division that's only focused on growth? It's not concerned with the bottom line. It's concerned with multiple growth. And I ask the same question of you on a personal level. What part of your day to day is focused on taking what it is that you truly are looking to pursue? Do you carve out any part of your day to focus on making that happen, or at least taking one or two steps in that direction? Is there anything there that will push you toward accomplishing what you truly want? Not the things that are part of your daily operations, but the thing in the back of your mind, that thing that you've written down in your journal, the thing that you may have a mastermind or a network, if you will, that you've shared and communicated this with, but it's more of a sharing network. It may not be quote unquote an accountability network. So you can come and communicate and share and say the things that you are hoping and you love to accomplish, but no one in that group is prepared or even tasked with keeping you accountable to what it is you're hoping to accomplish, right? So I want to just leave that seed, if you will. If there's nothing else that you pick up from in this particular call, that you do tap into that percentage of your day, or that percentage of your operations that is focused on pursuing what you really want. And I like to kind of emphasize what you really want. Sometimes we're scared to do it, but for the purposes of this call, definitely want to make sure that we have that conversation, that we do remind folks that we are here to really push that envelope. We're here to make sure that we're connecting and make sure that we're pursuing the things that matter to us, and we're not just kind of talking around it and hoping that how you're in classroom and the teacher's looking around, so somebody answer the question, and their eyes are getting close to you and the finger points right at you, so can you answer the question? You're hoping that no one does that. But the objective is, we want to make sure that you are sitting in the front of the class, ready and willing, even if you get the answer wrong, that you made an effort to say, here's what I think and why. And that begins the process. And I wanted to highlight that because there's so many folks who are just afraid of getting the answer wrong. You know what I'm saying? Folks are just completely afraid of being seen blurting out the wrong answer. And at the end of the day, we're in pursuit of information. We're in pursuit of a goal. And if you are so afraid to get the answer wrong, I mean, the likelihood of you accomplishing the goal is very slim, because the road toward accomplishing what you truly want comes with ups and downs, comes with a bunch of no's, comes with that's wrong, that's not the right answer, comes with I don't want it, comes with please stop calling me, it comes with your process is wrong, or you know don't quit your day job kind of thing. It comes with that. And if there's something in your subconscious that's saying, hey man, we should probably stay away from those kind of experiences. We should probably stay away. It's important that we talk about this that way. If there's something in your subconscious from way back, that stuff that you've kind of forgotten, those core memories, if you will, using my movie Inside Out strategies and themes. If there's a core memory that you don't quite remember yourself, but your subconscious does, your subconscious remembers it. Your subconscious is very clear on that, on that time when you said, let me try this. And you go out there and try something and you got burned and people laughed at you. And maybe you were 7 years old or whatever the case may be. And you said, never doing that again. And now you're 47. And you're 47 and you're like, I'm not sure why I don't pursue stuff, but I'm just going to go with my gut and not pursue it. And so, it happens, but we have to be conscious of the fact that there are things that our behaviors are protecting. Let me say it that way: are protecting us from, that we need to have a real talk to talk with our subconscious and say, listen, I'm trying to take it to another level, and you got to get on board. And the only way you can effectively do that is by doing the things that are outside your comfort zone, because your comfort zone was created by your subconscious, by your past experiences and behaviors and things that you've seen that have beefed up and strengthened your subconscious. So you want to be in a situation where you begin to do things that are outside of the comfort zone, that are in line with what it is that you are hoping to accomplish in your life. And so I just wanted to kind of open up with that, particularly for the folks who may be connecting with us for the first time through social media, and folks who dialed in. We appreciate you. We so support. Thank you for your support this morning. But it is important that we highlight the value of masterminds and the approaches to take to create your own unique masterminds throughout your process. And so we thank you, we appreciate you, and we do look forward to hearing from you guys on today's call. Well, as we did highlight, we are into the the second month of the year in February. But I think it is definitely important for us to take this time to take a quick look back, if you will, on the things that we've done, the approaches that we've taken, the goals that we set out initially in for this year, as so many of us launched into resolutions and the whole nine, and maybe it's just goals that you were working on before the new year started. But it is important for us to at least have an opportunity to communicate where you are, to highlight this is what happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, what the experience has been like in pursuing those goals, whether those goals were very unique and personal, health related, maybe it was mental health related, maybe it's businesses, and maybe it's family relationships or other type of relationships that you're working on, relationships with children and spouse, or whatever the case may be, with parents. Whatever the goals are, did you pursue it? Did you spend time in the month of January working on that? What happened? Uh, What was the experience like? Did you walk away feeling like there was some progress made? Or did you feel like you took a step back? There was a setback in the process, something got in the way, something was just, became more important. So you had to push it to the side. Whatever the case may be, this is kind of the opportunity where we want to kind of take a second, talk a little bit about what we've pursued, what we're pursuing, and where we are. How do we feel about where we are in the process of accomplishing the goals that we've set out to accomplish? And then also, it's always important to throw in the big why. Always ask that why question. I know this is the thing that you're working on, but why? Why is it? Why is this so premier to you right now? Why is it that you're doing? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose? Who is it benefiting? Is it just you? Is it family members who have benefited? Is it a greater community? What's your why behind all of this? Because the why is what sustains us, if you will. It's where the reasons live. So let's take a second and open up the call now to anybody who would like to share a little bit about what they've been working on this month or in the past month, the goals that they set out, what the experiences have been like, and how do you feel about where you are right now in the process. So we'll take a second and open up the call now. Good morning, Brother Mitchell. How you feeling, man? Mm,
future. The sit back and just get all the energy from the sun that's lining up over the Atlantic Ocean.
there we go.
Yeah. So keep this one short and sweet. First, say thank you to the members who purchased some you, Byron, Larry, and Charles. I'm always looking for feedback, but I want to thank you three for purchasing the monthly and joint relief gel. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm always looking for feedback from you guys as well. So that's first and foremost. Thank you very much. Secondly, what I'm working on is what I actually accomplished last month. We've now gotten our product into our first retail shop called Trinity Nutrition. It's in Central PA. It's in Reading. Small shop, but it's locally owned, locally grown. It's geared towards the fitness industry, mainly the bodybuilding and powerlifting industry. So yes, we just got in there last month. I'm going there probably 2-3 weeks. Hung up a product during the business time period. So that's on another on-site show. That's at Power. I mean, I think it's like maybe 4,000 square feet. 2,000 square feet. I mean, it's huge. But no, actually, I think it's 22,000 square feet. It was an old retail. I think it was an old Sears. I think it was an old Sears building or something that sat dormant forever. So it's a monster of a space. It has two. So actually going to open in there for with Souls. So yeah, so far my goals are achieved my goals at a minimum achievement. Meaning we've launched, we've sold, online business picking up, social media's picking up, we got a retail, but we're just not killing it. You know what I mean? We're not at that 9% where we're selling products weekly. You know what I mean? So that's my next goal is to have things being sold out on a daily basis. Like I want to go to the mailbox. I want to ship something out daily. But so we're there like weekly, bi-weekly, but just not the volume's not there yet. But pushing forward. So yeah, that's it. That's where I am. We achieved some goals. Retail stores on another opening, and still working online sales. And I was able to come down to the beach and watch the sunrise. It's pretty amazing, as you know.
Yeah. Oh man, I love it, man. I love it. I'm glad that you shared kind of the progress updates with everything, and it's when we think about folks like yourself who've taken that step. We look back a year ago when this was just an idea, in terms of making it practical. And now, we're people are buying products and using it on a day-to-day basis and having things to share and success and just that whole process. And when you look back on all of this, what would you say really was your why in all of this? And pursuing this business, pursuing like the whole thing. What would you say was your specific why in actually starting this business? Mm, mm. Yeah. 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 Mm, yeah. Got it. Mhm.
You have a couple options in this world of what you want to do, where you want to go, how you get there. You can work with someone else, which is fine,
Mhm.
but as long as it's something you like, or you go to the military if you wish, or you can start your own business.
Mhm.
And this is
Mhm.
what you have to do. And it's not going to be guaranteed, nothing's going to be easy. And sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know
Yeah.
to help you succeed. But no one cares about you succeeding but yourself.
Mhm.
You can have partners in the business, but they don't care about you. They care about yourself. So I'm gonna stop telling someone else to dream for my own dream. Secondly, is for my kids, set a role model for my kids, and say, hey, if this is what you like to do, you can do it. You can find success and something you like. But it's gonna be hard work.
Yeah.
Definitely teach my kids that sitting home playing on the phone, playing on the games, being a social influencer, that's good. Nothing will be given to you. So I'm teaching them that, hey, you know what, dad, he's been in his industry for, going on 25, almost 30 years. Now he's starting a new industry, starting a new stage in his life. And it can be done. So if you want to do it at 16, do it at 16.
Yeah.
If you want to do it at 53, do it at 53.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing it.
You're doing
As long as you're doing it. Move forward. As long as you're doing it, move forward. So, and then maybe the fourth why would be not financially. We'll build this business up. I find if you want to be successful, it's now a valuable business
Yeah.
where someone else may be looking at us like, hey, how did you do that? But, are you successful with it? Well, I don't want to, define success as a monetarily thing. I want to define it as a success to me. As
Yeah.
am I happy? Is it providing the basic needs, that I want? And the most important thing is when I wake up in the morning, do I want to do this 7 days a week?
Yeah.
I want to get up and look forward to it. Or when it's like 9:30 at night, do I want to work on something? So, I got an idea that can make this. So I want to have that enjoyment in my life of working on something, doing something that I don't mind doing 24/7. And for me, being in this industry, going to doing shows, having a product that I know works and helping people out of all ages, and that's because it's plant-based. Mm-hmm. Because we all know all these foods, everything out here is not healthy for us, and we're killing our bodies with non-healthy, toxic food and chemicals. So that's another thing that I'm looking forward to doing is making that change overall within the industry. Just hey, you know what? Let's get healthy together. Let's do things a little differently, especially within our community. So that's it. But I will be hitting the gym. I know I'm not as hyped and amped as usual because I just came back from the beach watching the sunrise. My blood pressure, I'm calm, cool, and collected and easy. But in about 20 minutes, I'm about to turn up and get in there. We'll walk through the doors of the gym. That's why I go to that next level.
Please do. Mm. Okay. Oh, yeah, definitely. Mm.
See on social media. It's a thing that
Oh.
But we just gotta make this. Absolutely. Everything to do. Everybody to do a video. Social media. You tag everybody, have them share it. All your friends have them share it. Just know a few jump owners, and make sure to make the connection and get you out there.
I love it.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. So within my following, it's in the powerlifting space. So I'm tagging lifters, and I'm doing meets as well. So anytime that I do a meet, I tag the promoter, the owner, the gym, and things like that. So I'm doing that, but I do know, and I really appreciate your feedback. I need to do and to get more of those testimonials and feedback. Because right now I'm just doing a picture whenever if I saw somebody, to them face to face, a picture and post it. I had one influencer. She's a bikini fit model, and she posts like maybe once a week for me. I'm trying to get another one as well. So yeah, it's like you said, the whole invasion of privacy. I've been so kind of like, you know what? I don't want to be that guy walking around the gym with a GoPro, camera, videotape, and all that. That's what it is today. That's how it is.
That's how it is. Yeah.
I just need to put my ego aside. I need to put my ego aside. You know what?
And not only that, one of the things that you were told is you have an easy face to look at, so people will look. You know what I'm saying? So you can get your
Yeah. 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 That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Life sales to a dental office to do to two dental offices. That's what I just heard.
But you have to talk to your doctor too. And
Yep.
everybody that you do business with.
Yep. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the reason, just a little history, the reason I was focusing on the gym because I wanted to make sure the product was solid with a base of individuals that I know works their muscles like to the ultimate. That really grinds and really puts it, that really tests their muscles and their bodies and everything, and looking for a solid product that says, hey, listen, if these guys can use it, if it works on these guys, I know it's going to work on you. If these, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like getting the street cred, saying back in the day. So just grinding with when trying to get my street cred, and now I have it, and now I got the approval, the thumbs up from guys and women, ladies that I know that are working out 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, maybe twice a week, that are actually competing and actually competing on a national level. So, you know, I'm getting thumbs up from those guys. I'm like, okay, I know I'm on the right track for the product. Now the next step, I need to push it out there. Thank you for the ideas. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Dr. Dana, you make me think about when when we would host the Purple Honey events, and Innovation Dinner would be one of the sponsors, and then so we send up our Dr. Dana, our favorite dentist, you know, to 300 people who all know they don't have a dentist, right? I mean, that's the truth. The first question she'd ask is, how many of you guys have a dentist? And you know, I remember the first one. Everyone's looking around. They didn't want to tell folks that they didn't have a dentist. But after they saw her every time there was an event, those folks, she became their dentist. And that's just the marketing of it. And folks were quitting there. If they did have a dentist, they were quitting them. I was one of them. I quit my dentist, you know. And so that marketing piece is a huge part of it as well. And Dwayne, you know, in your case, I'm glad Dr. Dana kind of outlined the various target markets. You know, you're in one of the target markets right now in the weightlifting and bodybuilding particular market. But just to be able to run down all these various markets who, if they knew about it, they would more than likely say, yeah, definitely. I have clients who can do that, who need that, you know. So it's always good to have those multiple revenue streams from different markets. And the other interesting part about your product, though, is that each product has its own unique market, as you've kind of outlined with us. The roll-on does this, you know, the oil does that, you know, the pump does this, and it creates its own unique markets that are not linked to those others, you know. So that's a great part just for revenue diversification, you know. So as certain markets may kind of dry up or a bit more cyclical, others may not, and it'll keep, you know, they'll keep buying on subscription, if you will, you know. So it's great to have more than one product like you currently have, and just making sure that you know, you're able to diversify your revenue stream by targeting various markets. But I like your approach, though. You're looking at the fact that if these bodybuilder guys, you know, who are really putting an amount of strain and stress on those muscles and joints, if they can improve it, it's a great way to launch your product. I definitely agree with that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, this is great. Definitely great. I appreciate you, brother, for sharing and kind of highlighting where you are and what the month has looked like. You know, that's what we're really trying to tap into. You know, what have we been working on over the past month? What has been the experience? You know, how has it felt? Has it been great? Has it been steady? Has it been, I don't know, you know. But as you can see, the great part about doing that is, you know, more than likely someone on the call has experienced where you are and can uniquely speak to it and provide some guidance. And that, you know, the one thing we've realized over the years is that there is much power in sharing and investing in somebody else's life, because that means you're more than likely the next one to be invested into. You know, if you're willing to invest in somebody else's life, don't be surprised if somebody invests in your life right before you know it. Like, and so, especially in areas where you really need it, you may not even have communicated that, but universal law is universal law. And so the law of giving and receiving, it is just a flow. It doesn't, you know, there's not one that has to is arbitrary over the other. Once you start that process, it comes, you know, and we just kind of have to know that and do it with the spirit of letting that flow happen. So let's take a second. We'll open up the call. Anybody who's willing and ready to talk a little bit about their January, where they are in terms of their goals and the experiences that they've seen, and how do you feel? And are you still excited? Are you like, you know what, I think I'm gonna try something different? And I think it's important. I want to highlight the fact that there's nothing wrong with coming to the conclusion that what I was pursuing may not have been the right thing to pursue. And here's why. You know, we want to be transparent and honest in a way that really is helpful for you. This is not, again, we want to highlight this particular room as a safe space to be able to throw all pretension out the door and just be honest about where you are. You know, I think that's where you get the most value out of what you're trying to pursue and creating this network. So let's take a second, open up the call now. Anybody would like to share about their January and what they're working on. We'll open up the call now.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing fine. This is Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to share a little about what I'm doing, but I would really like to go back to what Dwayne was talking about, and also agreeing with Dr. Dana. For myself, I'm in the human services field, so I do counseling. And over the past 6-8 months, I left a corporate job doing like addictions counseling and decided to just venture out on my own. So what I do now is I'm just doing more consulting, and I'm actually working for different programs and agencies promoting, addiction or recovery, and from another standpoint as far as like, men's healing and from traumas and things like that. So even though it involves recovery, it's more talking about, routine and how you're living your daily life and using motivation to become more as a means to recovery, so that's pretty much what I'm working on. But I agree with Dr. Dana because over the past year, I'm with the men's running group. It's Black Men Run. And the product that Dwayne is talking about is definitely needed in the running world. Me personally, I've been running 10Ks. I'm trying to do probably a half marathon this year in the Baltimore's Running Festival. But I have brothers that run all over the world. Wow. And these guys, this is what they do on a national level. And that's a product that could definitely be introduced into that world because these guys are not just runners, but they go to the gym and keep their body conditioned to be able to run these marathons and triathlons. So, and we always use the training, as a part of the recovery. So, it's so many run clubs just in Maryland itself. Mm-hmm. Not to mention, other areas, but that's a product that's definitely needed because people are using those gels and those creams as a way of recovery and just, just as far as like being able to help with the soreness from working out, running, because we're in like 3 times a week. They get like 8 meals in on Sunday, and I do like a K on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's minimal. Because I have guys that's putting in like 10, 15 miles, every other day, and we talk about that a lot. So again, I hope to give me the link or either the where I need to go to just check the product out and get it, and I'll try to also refer to some of my friends as well. But that's a market that will probably be huge for that product.
Awesome. I just sent you actually the website, Lawrence, on via text. It's www.sol.md, sol.md, Strains of Life. So definitely check it out. Wayne, this is getting the word out.
This one I created because I want to do something special for friends and family groups in the group. It's MAKO, makeup, and I increased it a little bit just about the table between and that's a 15%.
Right.
I know some of you guys have purchased something with 10%. Because the other codes, those are for my influencers. So if they post that they do stuff, they do anything, and you pay them commission. So this one is my code. Obviously, the commission doesn't happen, but I just want to keep it just to add a little extra something within, a group of family.
So if you have any close friends or family members of yours, make sure that they use that code as well.
Perfect. And I just put that in the chat as well. Yep, I just put that in the chat as well for those of you online, social media who want to check out the product, and also the link at www.sol.md. Discount code MAKO, 15% off. Good stuff, man. I love it. I love it. Anybody else? I know we're getting close to 8 o'clock, but we definitely want to take a second to open up the call. Anybody would like to share, talk a little bit about January, how things are progressing, or wherever you are. We want to highlight that and take a second to share with the network. We'll take a second to open up the call now. Same for our folks who are online. Please feel free to pop in, and also you can feel free to share in the comments as well if you don't want to dial in. We look forward to just connecting with you and being, again, to have an opportunity to be transparent, share what you're doing. And if you need some support, that is a highlight. We want to make sure that we know in every stage of our activities, there's always points where we need some guidance, or maybe a connection, or maybe someone who can open a door, if you will. We want to make sure that we are aware of what you're working on and maybe to help to connect some dots. So we'll take a second to open up the call now. Uh-oh. Who's that? Oh, there you go. All right, there you go, brother. Open up with a strong sneeze. Okay, brother. It's like it's like Hachu. All right, come in. Let me say something. Let's go. Ah, okay.
Getting cold of them as you breathing and, panting and sweating and all that. So, we talking about that, but getting, and here's what I've been wrong with the couple, right? It's something else, but just, here, the Main Street, he represents, the person that's close that is actively getting after it, health wise. So that's an important, person. So that's important in it's good to know, that somebody's real, that's really, on it, and we get those text messages every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reminder, if you're not on it, get on it. Other than all the other reminders, like the mail, going upstairs, or like your clothes, your pants are good. Your shirts are a good reminder too. Like, hey man, but I was telling Jen, I'm like, yeah, make these fit. Now you're saying the two, and two. They don't, what I'm saying? Those numbers might not mean anything to some of y'all, but to me, it means something because my pants down. So, and Dwayne is, so as I'm back in February, to get back to it, January was when I said I was just gonna go with January. Like, man, we'll do what everybody else does. January the 1st, no time. It's good to just start. So what? You just come in January, like everybody else. Of course, January 1st. January 1st came. I think I did 3 quick run or something like that. and just didn't do anything else. This ain't gonna work. You got to get back at it. Now, I got all the good excuses that go along. Got all the good excuses.
No.
Good excuses. You know, yeah, I got the good excuses. I got a young kid, you know, can't get up early in the morning, school drop off. You know, 3 businesses that I'm working on. One happens at night. You know, so it's like, you know, the 2, 2 o'clock in the morning, you may be getting in the house, you can't get up at 5, you got up at 1. You know, so there's all kinds of good excuses on reasons not to do it, how to fit it in. But those excuses, they just are what they are. You know, and the jeans and my shirt, don't care. Like, you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, stand on business. People say you stand on business. I stand on business. We got more people than most people. See, I do. And I get to that, and I'm not booked in another area, so I'm like, why are you booked in this area? So, you know, January came and went, folks can get something good at once. So I said, well, this year, do something for you in February. And we're New Year's first. So made that commitment to myself in February, and I got started, you know, February 12th. So, you know, I'm on a 2-day cast, ready to go. So January, from that perspective, was failure, you know, because I didn't hit it, and I didn't get started. I said I was going to do it in January. You know, maybe I can't remember the exact date, but, you know, let's just say it was something like that. Whenever that first Monday was in January, and do it, but that was a failure. But to be the narrative of health, you know, I said, well, failed in January, so I'll just go ahead and grab this whatever, you know, go ahead and chill, drink a beer, and on back in the day when I wasn't sick, so when I was in a lot better shape. On that. I feel good about that. Even after the first one. But the truth about it is, and the reason why I love exercising is that for 2 reasons. One, the obvious benefit. And then the second one is kind of strange, but when you go back to it, it's very quickly let you know where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know immediately, like, oh, okay, you've been showing. And your body is one, it's so honest. The body is so honest. You know, and it's one of the few places in the world where you can get that level of honesty. Your body has you can sit on your ass for 6 months and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, those two have everything else heinous. And I said, you know, I spent a lot of time sitting with people, you know, dealing with people and all kinds of stuff. It's painful. And that's why I say I went right to Wayne again, like, oh yeah. I didn't need the soul for like 4, like, you don't need the soul for like, you just chilling. You know what I'm saying? But now, oh yeah, I'm getting the roll on.
Get your roll on.
Yeah, because I'm getting the roll on immediately. And I know I recommended it to some people. I don't know if they purchased it, maybe they haven't, but yeah, I recommended it. Oh, you got so, oh yeah, my cousin got this. You know, give me the link. So, you know, I'm semi-promoting, you know, when it comes up in conversation, but I'm about to be a product of it.
Yeah.
That is lines up, you know, that lines up with what's happening. So that's why I'm in line with the call. And then to hear my man Lawrence say he's on the streets running like that, you know, like, yeah, Lawrence, join the club, man. Join the club. And the numbers he was talking about, I was like, I used those numbers. I used to see those numbers. Yeah, I did those numbers. I'm not doing them now. I'm always doing numbers. Oh yeah, and I'll get back there. So just to hear that is it's always refreshing to hear her, and for you to go back into the whole, you know, her being our Dennis and Purple Honey and all that, just took me back.
Yeah.
And to line it up, have a oral appointment next Saturday.
Okay.
And so you know, you recommend it. We should have to the dog, you know, a long time ago. I finally just called like, yo, man, just come. I'm going to. whatever, the dentist, whatever it is.
Dentist.
Yeah. I'm getting the bottom row. I'm getting the bottom row of gold. So y'all can see me doing my.
And don't play. I was just in my office with a dentist from LA. I let him use my office to do a $1.1 million case. And he said that he put me under his wing and he's gonna teach me how to put diamonds in people's teeth, veneers, and I already know how to make how to slice you up, do a grill or to the river. Just saying. I'm ready when you're ready.
Ready.
Be careful when you're in the master.
Careful.
Get that vibration. The energy will come right to you. You go.
Oh yeah.
I was just yesterday. I just see one gold piece.
That's right.
Go one. You want to go a little side. You go a little side. That one. Ping.
I think we do need a mastermind grill front.
And diamonds on the front, you smile. What are you talking?
Oh man.
I think that it's simple things. You know, there's been other things that have had, you know, big losses and big wins.
Yeah.
Throughout the month of January. But later, but that simple kind of stuff is important to me because the mastermind goals and personal development, I like to live in the space. The one space that I stay there, one thing that I get out of all of this, well, the second thing, there's two things. One is the network and the vibration. That's the first thing. Network creates vibration. You know, people generate energy, and if you can harness that, you know, it'll put you in line with the greatest thing. Right? So that's step one. But step two, getting in line and using exercise as a way to discipline myself, not lie to myself, and just to be a more disciplined person.
Yeah.
This is one area is in an important area for your life. It's beneficial, but that discipline piece is key for me. You know, it's definitely my number two. Definitely my number two. So to get back to that and to be back on, you know, a disciplined path, holistically, you know, everything, not just, you know, business or family. To be on that, which is physical, and to be on everything that is physical.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, I just want to prove that Dr. Dana got receipts, man. She just sent pictures of her $1 million dental client or partner here. I'm like, this sister got receipts. I love it, man. This is like, it's so real. But you know what, man? I tell you, you know, when I think back to, you know, even for myself, for this month in January and looking back, you know, it's definitely one of those situations where you have to be, you know, one of the reasons why personal self-development is so important is because you don't know what's going to happen every day. You know, you can set out a plan and you can be in the process of pursuing a plan and you're doing that, and the plan in and of itself can be exciting. And so you're kind of trying to rev up as much energy and growth within pursuing the plan and that whole nine. But life happens, you know. Life in and of itself happens. Tragedies happen, you know. Grief happens. All of those things that while you're rolling, you know, you're on your march and you're doing your thing. then those things are part of life too, and so we, as most of you know, we spent some time this month, supporting our brother, Kier, and the loss of his daughter. And so, and all that comes with that. And even personally, and self-reflection, and and just our own unique family matters, if you will. And I think it's so important that it is literally like staying in the gym. You have to. I think about situations of, if you're not in the gym, let's say mentally, spiritually, working out, strengthening your mind, strengthening your spirit, and those things happen, the bad things happen, and they will happen. When they happen, how do you recover? How do you overcome it? How do you deal with it? Because in many cases, some of these things, there's no such thing as overcoming. It's just you think some things you just have to deal with, in many cases, for the rest of your life. And but are you in a position where you can continue, where you actually can deal with it? And how do you deal with it in a way that still keeps you in line with what it is that you've committed to yourself and God on as the objectives for your life? And it is, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, the greatest thing in life, for me, is being a husband and father. And it's also the hardest thing, is being a husband and father, because if you're trying to be good at it, if you don't care, then it's whatever, what I'm saying? If you don't care about being a good dad or a good husband or whatever the case is, whatever, it's not a big deal. Go stay focused on whatever you got, I think in this whole process, when we talk about, setting goals and mentorship and who do you listen to, and listen to people who have it where you want, and all of these things, it is vitally important that when you go down that road, a lot of times we see people who have, in one lane of our expectations and goals, they may have reached great success. And then as you get to know them and you see what they were willing to sacrifice to get what they have, they may not be as successful in other parts of your goals in life. They may not be the successful dad or the successful mom or the successful husband or wife or whatever the case may be. They may not be, good friends to their friends or whatever the case may be. So you have to kind of, in many ways, pick what they're mentoring. What are they mentoring you on? And leave the other stuff. One of my favorite books is The House of Morgan, which outlines the life of J.P. Morgan. And I said, oh, man, this is great the way he's done this, man. He structured these, how to take over a complete industry, how to, become the Federal Reserve. Like, this is the next level kind of thing. And then they start drilling down into his relationships with his wife and his kids. And I was like, oh, whoa, hold on, let's slow down for a second. It's like, that's not what I'm trying to accomplish. So it is so good. It's so important to put everything into full context as we, goal setting comes with mentorship. It comes with, as Dana outlined, and Dr. Dana was talking about, well, what's your model? How, what are you patterning your business activities after? And so when you identify a model and you want to make sure that in that lane, it's the best in class, that's a lot of what I talk about with my clients who are looking to grow their businesses and one day potentially sell it. The whole process of growth and exit is about increasing the value of your business, we're in a place where it's attractive to a buyer. Someone who says, oh, let me take a look at that. Wow, that's great. Oh, the growth rate looks good. You got this thing fully staffed. This is great. If I buy this, I don't have to do anything. We'll just let it make money. That's premium talk. You get ready to buy. Listen, you're not going to buy this for whatever our annual revenue is. you're getting ready to pay a premium for this hands-off great investment, right? So, but there are also buyers out there saying, you know what, I'm not looking for premiums. I'm looking for stuff I can fix up. So those companies that's not doing so well, yeah, we're gonna buy your business, but we're gonna pay 50 cents on the dollar, for this business because it's a mess, right? But I like the contracts you got, so. But we're gonna pay the 50 cents on the dollar, So it's the thing of, as we're building something, who do we listen to? How are we building it? What's the structure? And are we in a position, to make sure that the growth is happening in a way that reflects what your true goals and passions are? So as this has been just a very, this has been a month of a roller coaster for me in in January, where I saw some extreme lows, I didn't even realize I still had tears that could just keep flowing that way. Oh man, I thought I was done crying, like just more and more tears that wouldn't stop for so many reasons, But then at the same time, yesterday I had a conversation with an old client who sounds like is about to become a new client in a different capacity. And I was sitting there listening. We're in the middle of the conversation, and I'm listening to our conversation just getting fired up. Just like, yikes, are we really talking about this? Are we really talking about, great business growth opportunities at the same time talking about impacting the community? Like the combination of the two, usually it's one or the other, right? We're about to go impact the community. May not get paid nothing for it, but we're about to go and do that, right? Or we're about to make some money, right? And community is not going to benefit from this great financial blessing that we're about to get, but it's usually completely exclusive of each other. That conversation me and this guy had yesterday was 100% a combination of the two, and for long term, not just kind of this is what's going to happen in 2024 and maybe a little bit of 2025. We're talking generational opportunities. And I was in the conversation thinking about it. I literally was like, can't wait to talk about this tomorrow. So, because it's one of those things. Are we pushing? And are we, as we set these goals, are we pushing? Are we trying to get in front of, what does it take? Do you even know what it takes to be successful at the thing that you're saying right now? I want to be successful at this. I was having a conversation with a new client the other day, and, she's giving me one picture, this is what's going on with my money, my finances, my business, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, great, all right, I'm documenting, we're getting everything organized. And as she continues to keep talking, then she starts talking about these contracts and how long she's been doing certain contracts. I'm like, what are you talking about? Where did this come from? When were you going to tell me that you have, $300,000 worth of contracts that you've been doing for the past 8 years? We need to staff this. This shouldn't be just a situation where you go and get your friends and family, and y'all work a contract, y'all work an event. Let's staff this right. Let's build this. Let's build something right. This is a void in the marketplace, and we could increase the value of this business in 2 seconds if any of those people that you bring in, do you trust them to do this work full time? Can you hire them to do a particular part of this work? And that we walked away from that conversation like, we're about to blow our goals out the door. Like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding your gifts? You have these gifts, you have these talents that are already people recognize and say you're good at it. We like you. We call you when we need X, Y, Z. Let's build something great. Let's build something great. Why not? You already know how to do it. All you needed was the information of how to organize it properly. And that's what, that's my job, is to help you connect the dots on that. But if you got the skill set, let's build something great. And to see at the end of that conversation, you say, okay. I mean, yeah, okay, let's build something great, Dees. If you know how to help me do it, let's do it. And That's the goal every day. Like, how many times can we do this? How many times can we tap into somebody, connect with someone, have them ask the right questions to get to not only what they're truly trying to accomplish, but what they're currently good at. Because a lot of times we say, "Oh, my goal this year is to grow this, this, that, and the other." And it's like, okay, that's great. That's a great goal. Let's talk about you. Let's talk. What have you been doing? How do you have this? You got what? All of you? How are you spending your time? And before you know it, just in asking the right questions, we can find out that some people have talents and gifts that should be monetized and could change the whole thing. It could change everything, And so, but we don't, we maybe in the back of our mind, we say, well, I don't really know how to make money doing that. And that's the thing, especially in the Black community, we have so many people who, you know, eh, mean very well. Say, I'm going to start a nonprofit organization. And it's nonprofit, it's going to do this, and it's going to work on that. It's going to have that group and that group and that group. And I'm like, great. How about let's just start a business doing that? Huh? I'm like, well, that's not going to help anybody. So what are you talking about? You just outlined a business model for this nonprofit organization that you're going to spend most of your time trying to raise money for. We may as well just start a business doing this. You're still going to impact the target market that you're looking for. And you're not spending all your time trying to chase down wealthy folks to support your dream. Let's go build a business doing it. Huh? So we're in a situation, we're in a time period now. It's just where how can we tap into folks' what they really know and understand, and things that they can really take to the next level. How can we be supportive of that? But I like the way you guys throughout this call truly highlighted the value of health and wellness, discipline, the ongoing aspect of strengthening your mind, strengthening your body. How do you continue to do that to create new habits? That process in and of itself is extremely valuable as we are talking about goals and dreams. How to stay committed even when you get punched in the face, even when you didn't make any money, even when a bunch of people said no, even when the people you thought were going to buy didn't buy. How do you really target what it is that you're trying to accomplish? Because in most cases, when you are building something, in most cases, you're going to find yourself in rooms that you've never been in before, because it's really not for the target, or I should say, in many ways, it's going to be much more than just the people who you know. The people who you know, great. Maybe it's a good service for them. Some of them, maybe not all of them. But the real golden nugget is in that market over there, and you don't know anybody there, at least not yet. You're gonna know them because you're so committed. You have so many reasons. That's why, in the case of Dwayne, when we asked him, "Well, what's the reasons? What's your why behind this?" And he laid off like 4 or 5 different whys. And the deeper and bigger and stronger and hairier your reasons are, the more the more commitment will be associated with making it happen. The more the likelihood of it coming to life is there, because you got so many reasons to make sure it happens. And so it's just, I think it's for our job, and I always hope that when we finish these calls, we hang up and we can log off, that everyone who's a part of this particular network, who heard this whole talk and message today, that you walk off and you go and connect with somebody else, and you basically connect with them, sow that seed into them, because there are a host of people, like, we can have this kind of conversation almost like clearly and easily with the folks who are on, because these are folks who dial in every time, they log on every time it pops up. But there are folks that their walls built up before they can hear. So there's so many walls that have been created over the years, that when you go in there and you start talking about opportunity, purpose, it could very well be like, to them, it's like womp, 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 womp. maybe the first time, maybe even the second, third time. But what you're really doing is you walked in there with a chisel and you're just chipping away at that wall, and it's just crumbling, piece by piece, stone by stone. It's starting to crumble down, starting to crumble, and before you know it, you showed up the next time. Before you can open your mouth, it's like, you know what? I remember that time you said, whoa, what? You remember what? I thought you weren't paying me any attention. It's that opportunity. And, it all comes back to what it is that we're here to do. Are we here to do something that is so impactful to us individually, but it has no greater meaning to anybody else? When Dwayne started talking about he tapped into his family, and there's a lot of fire there when you bring up the children and what they see and what they get exposed to just by seeing his activity and what he's potentially building. And I'm the same way. It's like, all right, I can do it. Like I always say, I'm much more willing to give up on myself. But if once I take it outside of me, then now, how's this going to impact my wife? How's it going to impact my daughter? How's it going to impact my mom and dad, siblings, that close fire. But then you take it one step further. So what if I share this with somebody else outside of that network? And particularly in the area of where people truly need it. Where you're in the realm, there's some people you can share stuff with, and it may not be that big of a factor, but there are some that that if you share this with them, it could change everything. It could be everything for them. And the truth is, whatever it is that you're working on, who it is. Who that market is. I always test myself in those markets because I'm one that if I'm like 2 seconds away from a tear or my throat gets real heavy, I've had to learn how to pause, and talk when I get into those markets, because if not, I'm going to boohoo cry throughout the whole presentation. That's the real. That's when you're challenging yourself. The last thing you want to do is boohoo cry when you're trying to market something, like something that you're working on, or maybe that is what you want. Maybe that's the effect that you're looking for, but it is something to be able to get to those purpose-driven moments, those moments where what you're working on is so at the core of your existence for living that it's uncontrollable from a spiritual and an emotional perspective, because you realize, yikes, this is what God called me here to do. Like I'm literally, like you take a step back and just kind of digest that. We're all walking around doing stuff and we're moving. And a lot of times we're doing it as zombies with no ounce of purpose associated with it. Maybe more responsibilities. Like, well, I got to do this. I got to pay my bills, and I got my babies and all, So that's one thing. But man, every now and again, and if you haven't, I'll say this: if you've never been or felt that what you were doing taps right into the core and essence of why you were created. If you've never felt that, then this is a good place to start. It's a good place to start to say, number one, as a prayer, started with as a prayer. God, put me in that environment. Show me what it is that I am uniquely here to do. Give me a vision of it. Let me see what that is. And before I die, let me at least feel it for a second, like what that feels like. And what happens? You get a little taste of it. You're like, I got to get it again. I got to do it again. And then you start looking around like, I don't want to die no time soon because I want to do this again, right? It's like, I want to do it again. And to be in that space, to see that you're doing your work, you're doing your life's calling. I have a client who's really more like a mentor, but he's also a client as well. And I was actually meeting with him yesterday, and I can't get him to retire. Cannot get him to retire. So I'm having to restructure the whole plan, because he's got it to a place where his work is his calling. What he does for a living is his purpose for living. So there's no such thing as retirement. Now that's the good thing. The bad thing is I had to give him had a come to Jesus moment with him. I said, listen, man, either this money that you have been saving over the past 30 years is intended to fund your estate, or you need to start taking income. One or the other, right? He's like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Oh, what? You won't retire. We should be having this conversation 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we should have had this conversation. But now you are where you are. So make a decision now. Is this money to fund your estate, or is this money for you to spend your retirement years? What's the answer? And it's a good problem to have, because you've been doing all the right things all these years. But when you get so busy, if you're blessed enough to have created something that is how you earn income and how you fulfill your purpose, and you were able to wind that in together as one business and life's work all in one, that's at the end of the day, that's what this whole purpose for living, I believe, is to find ways to do that. And he's a great example of someone who has done it and has been doing it for a long time, and so these opportunities are available to us. It is available that we can actually spend this life being a blessing to our families and our lifestyle, but at the same time impacting the things that truly at the core of you matter to you. And so it's worth pursuing goals. It's worth taking a step back and saying, what am I trying to do? And why? What am I really trying to accomplish here? And what am I trying to do? Is it just about the money? Or is there something else going on inside of me that's saying I need to do that? Whatever the case may be, it's so worth that conversation with yourself and God. Because if you can do that, then now you're in a position where you can begin the process of building something that will allow you to stay in line with your passions, with your purpose, and at the same time add value to your family and your lifestyle. And that this life has that available. It's it's when folks are going through low moments in their life, depression, anxiety, mental health issues, it is important for us to, if you know it, and sometimes it could be very close to you and you have no clue, but it's important for us to have conversations about purpose and faith. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were just talking about these stages. And I know for you guys, we've talked a lot about, we had couple of years ago, a whole series that talked about the stages of life, and where essentially, from 0 to 20 is your foundation years. What you've learned and what you experienced and what was poured into you, whether you like what you saw and learned or you disliked it, that's what your foundation is built during those first 20 years of life. The second 20 years, 20 to 40, for most people are quote unquote your professional years, where you have studied and learned and practiced a certain thing for a solid 20 years or more, and you gain some knowledge in that area. Whether you like what you were doing or not, it. Somebody asked you a question about it, you got decades of experience, you can talk about it. 40 to 60 serving as the growth years. And these are the years where you can take a combination of your foundation, combination of the things that you've experienced, what you know and understand, and create something. Whether you take that and advance it in a corporation, or you've started something that you can grow yourself, but it's your growth years, because now you're in a situation where you can now share and communicate, teach people how to do it, and you go exponential with that. And then your 60 to 80 is your legacy years. where you take all those things that you've known, understand, and you're now giving back. You're preparing for what you've done over those 20 years, over I should say, all of those collective years. And it's something that you're going to do that will continue on after your life. Now, if you live past 80, you're just in that blessed lane where, these are your blessed years, right? And my grandparents both were into their 90s, when they passed away. So, which is just wallowing in blessing at that point, And so, but it is important as we think about those foundation years and those in that 20 to 40 time period as to how do we spend that time. And I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, when I think about my 20s, that just from 20 to 30 or 20 to 29, yeah, I literally spent that 10-year period doing things that I'd never, experiencing things that I didn't learn from home, right? So just going out and just trying stuff and seeing what I could do, trying to how far can I go, and before I feel like I'm out of my comfort zone, stretching what was then known as my comfort zone, and did I feel and like I was in a foreign situation, moving outside of the state, moving outside of the country, doing things that I had to learn for the first time, and just testing how do I feel about it, and just spent those years, even when things were bad, and we were highlighting just like even in that time period. I was listening to somebody the other day, and she really articulated this the right way. I don't know how to articulate it, but it was this part of talking about compartmentalization, and I think I have a little bit of that. It's like when something bad happens, I think it's because it depends on what you're focused on. I think I'm just so focused on trying to get to where I'm going that when the bad thing happens, I just kind of get it and throw it in a box and throw it way over there. And then until somebody brings it up again, I forgot it happened. I talk to my sister sometimes and she starts talking about stuff like, you sure? Like, I don't remember that. It's like, what are you talking about? You don't remember that? Like, no, I do not remember it. Then she keeps talking. I'm like, huh, that is what happened with. It's like, oh, that did happen. But whatever the case, somewhere in my process said, this is the only way you're going to be able to pull this off, man. When the bad stuff happens, you can't wallow in it. You got to figure out to do something with that. And my brain said, just throw it in that box and throw it way over there. And you got to look at it no more, And so I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what happens with me, right? So I'm just like, focus. Run into people. I moved back to Florida and run into people and they say, yeah, you were doing this, that, and the other. And, that was it. I'm like, yikes, really? But at that time, I wasn't thinking about it, right? I was just focused on the main objective. And the way I kind of look at those 20 to 29 years, for me personally, it was a combination of ambition and faith. And I think about it from that time period. Where did ambition and faith come from? You got to now go back to the first 20 years. Something in those 20 years said it's okay to be ambitious and it's okay to trust God. And something in those 20 years, whether it was going to church every Sunday or parents putting it into your grandparents, whatever the case may be, by the time I hit 20, it was, it's been probably earlier than that, but around that time, it was time to say, okay, all right, here's what they've given me. I'm going off and I'm taking ambition and faith with me. And that was when things got really rocky and should have been scary and all of that. It wasn't scary enough to take me off of that ambition and faith objective. That it wasn't so scary that it made me lessen my goals and dreams. And it wasn't so scary that made me say, well, it's too scary. I don't trust God. So let's just keep going. I know that happened. That's crazy. That looks weird. I can't believe it happened, but let's just keep going. And we don't have to talk about this no more. And That was it. And it was, but that was my situation. That was my story. But for other people, it's a different situation, And so my whole point is, the earlier we can connect with these kids at that 0 to 20 phase, and just pepper them with experiences and opportunities. I never heard of that. I never knew that was an option. I never knew that was something I should prepare for. Because what we do know is that we can't expect them to get this kind of stuff that we're talking about in the K-12 education. K-12 prepares kids to go work for somebody one day and be a good worker. If you can make it through this school and you can get good grades, that means you can be disciplined enough to go work for somebody who has a corporation and maybe do a good job at their company. And how to discipline yourself to, not talk in a certain way and not present yourself a certain way. And, it's almost, that's just what our K-12 system is. We have to prepare our kids for more than that. We have to expose them to more. So when they go through this process, they are prepared. And we can look at ourselves and say, well, what didn't we get, during that first 20 years of life? And not kick the can and say, you know what, man, my mama should have did this, my daddy should have did that. If we still can breathe, we can still get it. We can still get that information. We can still have that conversation. As Dwayne talked about, just because I'm 53 doesn't mean I can't start a new business. Yeah, I could start it when I was 23, but I'm 53 and I still got the ideas. I got the passion. I got the energy. Let's go. So just because it didn't happen 30 years ago doesn't mean it can't happen today. And so I want to share that. I will say I just picked up a new book Thursday. Looking forward to cracking it. This is one that's, I would say, a bit more specifically personal to me, which is Emmett J. Scott. Emmett J. Scott. So anybody who's looking at this, I got the book here. Emmett J. Scott, the power broker of the Tuskegee Machine. The power broker of the Tuskegee Machine. And that is, for anyone who's ever studied, I'd say the time period of the Black leaders during, the W.E.B. and Booker T leadership years, and that antebellum period, that what do we do with the 5 million freed slaves in America kind of thing. Emmett Scott was essentially, well, I guess it's probably the better way to explain it, Tuskegee itself was pretty much like the role that Booker T played was, he was the quote unquote, the voice of the Black community in the eyes of white America. And that there are a lot of Black folks who didn't like that and say, he don't speak for me. But from the standpoint of, from leadership in America, they would go to Tuskegee to find out, what should we do? How should we approach this with Black folks? Emmett J. Scott was essentially like the Secretary of State of the right-hand man to Booker T, and who organized the network to help build, what we now know as the Negro Business League, the National Business League, and all these organizing Black businesses throughout the country, saving, investing money, creating businesses to support, number one, the investments in Tuskegee, but other HBCUs throughout the country to help create seed capital. And then they will go out and get the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts all to invest in starting more Black colleges throughout the country. So I'm very excited to dive into this book. It's another example of, we're always trying to gain mentorship and guidance and information as we're working hard to pursue our goals. And sometimes the information that we're looking for is in people who have passed away. they're no longer here. Hopefully, there's either a book that they wrote or somebody wrote a book about them, or you can now in this day and age, you can go to YouTube and just type in a name or anything, and next thing you know, there's some information on it, and before you know it, you're listening to exactly what you're trying to access. So the information is here. We just have to pursue it. That's what was it. I hope I don't get this wrong, but it was somebody said, well, if you want to keep information away from a black man, put it in a book. Well, listen, that is not something that we adhere to within the Dream Makers Network. We will crack a book. We will crack a book. And on top of that, and there's so many other resources to get the information, but we will pursue the information because it will ultimately help add value to what you're working on. And knowledge is everything anyway. So that's what I got. Let's take a second, open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments, things they want to share? Didn't get a chance to jump in and talk about your January early on the call, and I kind of wiped the cold from your eye. You got your coffee. You're ready to dive in. We'll take a second and open up the call now.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I want to give a second to see if I would get some more energy.
Mm.
But I wanted to give a quick PSA. Number two occurrences last January, and obviously I'm the first person if I even discuss or recommend this, but the our brother Kid Johnson had his daughter. He had mentioned she passed away. And he had a beautiful service and all that kind of stuff, and it was and it was sad and celebration of life and all the things that go along with a funeral, right? The means in which she passed away brought awareness to me, and she committed suicide. She was 28 years old, and she made a decision to say, I'm ready to end right now. And she was successful in doing that. And because she was, we wound up, in this space. Everybody's heartbroken. But I've been wrestling with, and I was very close to Care. Well, not obviously, but y'all may or may not know, but we are partners in Purple Honey. And I've been working with them for a while. We are old friends and result and put a brotherhood together and all those good things. But and I happened to just be around at like ground zero when all the information, got brought to him. Mm-hmm. And by ground zero, I mean the call. We were actually at an event, and he was off, and I was on the other side. And his wife, has my information too, because we talk. It's just everybody's family. So, they called me, and she and the officer called me, and so I was tasked with signing him in the thing, and then kind of delivering this information, and then all of the stuff that went on from there.
Yeah.
And the exposure. So it put me in a unique situation to kind of get more of the emotional push than I probably ever would have had. Although knowing his daughter, being sad and you have the whole life ahead of you, and all those things that come along with a young pastor. I was different. So I've been working and struggling on trying to extract, these lessons that we get when we go through tragedies and successes, right? It's a lesson in everything, right? So trying to extract those lessons and extract them. And the basic ones have been there, you know. Obviously, you want to live, and you think about your family and all the great things you would like to live for. But there hasn't been the feeling that I would get from a lesson just hasn't been there, right?
Mm.
Okay, here's the case. The word, I haven't found the word yet. It's in there somewhere, and it'll come. But this is the example. Right? Typically, it's something tragic, and because like you were saying earlier, we spent so many years in the air quotes, the proverbial mental, emotional, spiritual gym that can sift through the issue, find the lesson, embrace the lesson, and even if I don't necessarily, adapt it immediately, there's still like solace, and that's the word I was looking for, solace, in knowing that I've extracted the lesson and I at least have it, jarred up in the cabinet of lessons.
Mm.
You can open it back up and say, there's a lesson. Okay, yeah, that's the lesson I learned from that. Eat it, the issue, or another time that happens, I can easily, run to the cabinet, open it up, and I grab it and say, yeah, that was the lesson. I almost forgot it, but I know to recognize it. In this particular case, the lessons are there, which should be obvious lessons, but it's been the solace, it hasn't been there in learning the lesson until, and that's why I say, I'm going all the way back to, I'm not qualified for that. There's people that are on here are far more qualified than me in this. But the lesson came to me through, my mother called me, and she was at the funeral, she knows kids and all that, and she called me a few days ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm just checking on you. I'm like, what do you mean? What you mean just checking on you? So yeah, because I just want to make sure, everything's all right. Like, you might not be having, committing suicide.
Mm.
Do something else to your family, whatever. She said, you are the kind of person that is that is described like Kid's daughter Kayla, meaning that tragedy. She was elderly. It was for this to occur was like the opposite of what I personally would have imagined, meaning that, when I imagine somebody who would be suicidal, having suicidal thoughts, and somebody who's in distress.
Yeah.
And this is just my imagination. This is not based on any research or anything, but this is just how I imagine it to be. I imagine that, this person is living in this one bedroom apartment with just a lamp and a table, and you know what I'm saying? And they just woke up and and they're drinking and whatever. This is just naive.
Yeah.
She was like me, and then the other people that I know that are on the call right now. Are going and helping people, leader, all these things. So my mother called me and was like, yeah, because you would get that. That could have been, you around here smiling, cracking jokes and happy go lucky. I just want to make sure that you're not about to do something that's gonna. So she's mad at me.
Wow.
I'm like, no, never even. To just. That's why I've taken me, in this direction, because that's not something that has ever crossed my mind. I just don't wait in that arena. But so that was the beginning of the lesson, and what it did was it took me back to the actual funeral. The preacher gave a great sermon, who was a survivor, a suicide survivor.
Yeah, that's right.
He didn't pull it off a couple times. He tried to attempt it and couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he attempted. And he talked about his attempt and all that, so he was super qualified to preach, you know. And at the end, towards the end, he said he wanted everybody to have the thoughts. After he created, like Jesus said, a safe space. Like you talk about a safe space to talk about your goals. He created a safe space for people to talk about their, you know, their anxieties. And if they ever have thoughts and all that, and so it was like the announcements and stuff. So I wasn't in. I had the blessing of being able to see the entire crowd.
Yeah.
And I was joking with these. I said I was the junior assistant pastor. Like I was sitting in that. You know, I'm not a church guy. But, you know, you got the big. It's like a throne. Let's be honest. It's not like a throne, right? It's designed. It's a mind. Yeah, that's what it is. They're playing mind games with you. I'm sorry. So there's a big throne and a mini throne. I'm sitting on like the queen's throne, right? He was in the big throne. So I had the opportunity to see the people. You know, stand up if you've had these thoughts, and at least 45 to 50% of the people stand up.
Seriously. Okay.
Just
half the people. Yeah.
The people. I don't want to exaggerate, but it was
half the room.
Very close to home. Yeah. Afterwards, you know, she's sitting there with her son. You knew this guy. She's sitting there. The sun stands up. She's sitting there. The sun stands up. She looks at them. What's up?
Yeah.
You know, two things together. Calling me and then actually being exposed to that. So many people out there that have these thoughts. I just wanted to really back to the beginning. However, I've just been saying to people, if you got a young person in your life who you think is a goofball, the person not sometimes happy and not happy, you know, and have a quick conversation with them. You know, however that looks in your realm. And if there is, you know, an issue, you take the myriad, not random, the myriad of steps to make sure that, you know, they get the assistance necessary. But the not knowing piece was the most shocking piece to me. And the fact that my mother at, you know, almost 50 decided to call me and say, hey, let me just check in with you. You know what I'm saying? It's just important that we, you know, that we just pull up people. I've been pulling up people, you know, asking them or pulling up people in my life. Like, hey man, you ever think about doing it? Get your own life. Don't do it. You know, and that's all I got for them, and then, you know, send them back. You get to tell them nobody has been to this point, which is a blessing. Yeah, that's what I say. I'm not qualified, but what I am saying is, the lesson that I got from it was to reach out to people in that specific thing, because it is something that is very prevalent. At least in that environment that I saw, to half of the people, and I just would have never known that. So that lesson was learned, and you know, and I will continue to do that, you know, as we go, and randomly ask people that. I think it's the best way to catch them. Hey, man, you have a bed, and you know, hey, you ever think about, you know, I want to be like an after school special, you know, if you feeling the boss of the guy, like, hey, Billy.
Yeah.
You know, the young people.
Yeah.
The other, you know, money of the life. That's what as my man Jesus said,
that's all I got. That's all I got.
Y'all got fantastic. But you just ask them randomly like my mother did. Hey, you ever think about this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's so many things that can't happen. But the prevalence of death by suicide is so much higher than we want to acknowledge in this country.
Yeah.
And in America, it's such an interesting space. And as Black people, even more so, and Black folks at church, it is all the numbers are just bananas, specifically. Yeah. But the reality is, mental health is a national crisis. And when they say that when America is sick, Black people are sicker, there's a say, I can't just say, are even more sick. I can't think of it.
When America has a cold, Black people have pneumonia or something like that. New and old pneumonia.
Maybe last 2 years, and even my first one was like when we were like 26, and that person, the first person I experienced it with, he wanted to fail, but what happened, essentially, the way he timed it, because he's that methodical, is he thought his grandmother would be coming home a lot sooner, and she started talking. So she went through blaming herself for years because she didn't come straight home like she said she would. And when and if you are ever, which I pray that none of us are ever this close again, there's nothing that you can do. Checking on people is what you can do. Yes, thank you. But if in fact there is a success, know that you didn't miss something. They wanted you to miss it, right? But it's really important as we are just in community that we stay in community. And when you're feeling low, to reach out to someone and continue to reach out to different people throughout so that you are missed. All systems are trash, and finding out quality therapists are hard as hell. At every age level. Then you look at like people who are actually qualified to recognize things in Black people, a whole other thing. My most recent suicide was a classmate, and I was like, damn, I didn't reach out to him. I missed him. I'm homecoming. He's my homecoming friend, right? Yeah. And I'm like, damn, where did you go, right? And I remember asking someone, where did he go? And I never called him. I got his number. He passed by suicide within about 2 weeks of homecoming, and it was, of course, breaking. Because again, at the surface, you would see success. He was someone that supported other entrepreneurs. One of my girlfriends decided to go, pure. I'm doing my business, whatever happened. He called her like, listen, I've been where you are. If you ever can't make payroll, call me. I got you. Mm-hmm. Like he made appointments with someone for brunch the day that he did it. He talked to two of our really good friends that day and made plans for the next day. It was so wonky. People thought he was cleaning his gun, and it was an accident. Like, it was just bananas. As things started coming out, we started learning more and more about him. Like, I found out one of my girls had a kid with him. I never put it.
Wow.
Just, so, that live beneath the surface, because we're human, we have all these multiple layers, right? Yeah. And so as we're in relationships, I challenge all of us, as I challenge myself, to connect and make sure that when you're not feeling well and right, to reach out and dig a little deeper. But as we're in community, just when someone's on your heart and your mind, just call. And we don't know what they need to hear, but letting people know daily that they're important to you and that they're special and that their life matters to you, that in and of itself is something that is preventative. You might not stop them forever, but it might be one more day in the day they need to get the information they need to continue. So we're in this thing together called life, and attempting to do it alone is impossible. So I appreciate you all more than you ever know. And our mental health matters, and really tapping into that purpose for all of us is the thing that helps us get better mental health. There's a book called Unapologize to Black Mental Health by Dr. Rita Walker. And I think it's one of the best I've ever read before. And I revisited it. I probably got 6 copies on the house somewhere. I keep ordering them for people. And I was running a book club about it. But it's so dope. And she uses a term that I love, and she talks about your psychological fortitude. And that psychological fortitude, I'm going to start with this, is a check-in. So you know how we say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. She quantifies it with numbers. So 1 to 10, where are you? And recognizing that if you're a 2 for 4 days in a row, nigga, there's something wrong, right? There's something wrong. But if you're, we got to do something with that. So if you holler at somebody, like, oh, you a 2, okay, you want to talk about it? And on day number 3 days, I'm on my way over there, or I'm getting a plane ticket, or you call someone who lives in a city and say, go see so-and-so and take them, do something, right? And so it's a way of checking in with, so you can get a metric of where they are and how that happens. And you know how you respond to things when you're a 3 or 4 or 5 versus when you're at 8. And my example, on Founders Day, I was a solid 4. And I had it. And one thing happened that took me out. I was on my way somewhere, and the address was wrong, and my Uber wasn't showing up. And I just burst out crying, oh my God. And I couldn't, because I was only a 3 or 4 in the moment. And so, my fortitude was love, right? Because I didn't catch myself early enough to be able to pull it together, right? And so just recognizing where you are, even asking yourself, but checking in with your people and getting some numbers behind where people are and keeping track of that. And I'll leave y'all with that. So thank you guys. I love you to death. And I love you to and it's so important to, just to speak those words of life and love. And my yoga, I'm doing free yoga classes Tuesday and Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. Interested, I'll definitely shoot you a Zoom. And it's a good time, and I'm just moving forward and getting the platform popping, so that this is not just about sharing love, but it's about another stream of income for me as well.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, because I was.
I'm sorry. The book is called The Unapologetic Guide. The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, and it's Rita Walker. It is Rheeda Walker, PhD, and she's a professor down at Florida State, but she was trained at Florida A&M by one of there's a professor that there was a point where Pittsburgh was training all of the Black psychologists in the daggone country, and she was about one of the many women who were one of her professors. Dr. Huberta Lowe was a professor of hers, so she's out of Florida as well.
Got it. Rita
Walker. Right. And there's a workbook now too that she has. And if you can listen to a podcast for her, she is dope as hell. She's thorough. She's a super thorough. She talks about suicidal ideations. She talks about building up, finding things that you enjoy. That book is a small book. It's an easy read, but it's definitely an awesome book. It's just a really good book, and it's not an academically written book. It's a look, Negro, you must, make sure you know how to read this damn book.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's Rheeda. I thought it was a update in the chat. Yeah. It was autocorrect. I hate autocorrect. Oh. Autocorrect no daggone competency.
That was the first AI. We can't trust AI. That's AI too. We got some time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Could you give me the name of the book again? I'm writing it down in the office.
The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health.
Okay, I see it.
It's a white and blue book.
Yeah.
I just sent it to you, Lawrence.
A big thing is that we don't even recognize when we're struggling with that moment for us. And one of the things that I teach is this program. It's a 2-day course, and it's called WRAP, WRAP, and it's Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And what I like about this is inside of that 2-day course, it gives you information on what do I look like when I'm well. It's like, okay, when I'm well, I'm happy, I'm feeling good, I'm singing, I'm outgoing. What do you look like when you're not well? And then you kind of describe that. What do I look like when I'm under stress? And what happens is when you do that format, you can actually give that to close relatives. So when you're not doing well, they already know because you've already been hands down that describes, I don't go and pick up my mail. I don't go come out, isolate. So when you start seeing those signs, you automatically know that they're not well or they're under stress. And, it's real, it is real informative. And that way you know the signs of your relatives, your neighbors, your close friends. And that's pretty much, what it is. It gives you insight as well as, the individual person. Because sometimes we can't even identify that we're under stress, going through anxiety, depressed, all of that. So, yep, I agree with you 100%. You have to do a checkup.
I like that a lot, man. I'm just sitting there thinking about, sometimes we meet with our family, parents and siblings and everybody, and, having dinner and all of that. And we laugh and talk about all kinds of stuff. But that kind of conversation that you just highlighted, Lawrence, is when you think about, how do we look when we're not well? That's an easy conversation to have. What are some of the tendencies? And there's sometimes some folks have kind of picked up on things over time and said, well, you know how it is when Deese isn't doing well. He's not talking or whatever the case may be. And it's one thing to kind of pick up on certain things. It's another to actually have that conversation openly, with friends and family and being honest, and it's like, I think we talk about that safe space piece, but the truth is, man, there are not a lot of safe spaces that people feel they have. A lot of people, even they can stare at the people who they've known, like their family, and say, "This is not a safe space for me to say what I want to say," and when that's the reality of someone, and then they start searching around, like, where do I have a safe space to say what's really on my mind, and not have everybody and their mama look at me like I'm crazy, It begins there. And if you find yourself walking around with nowhere that's safe, it could just become too much. It's just, it's just too much. And I don't have the energy and there it begins, and, I think that, for this call, we talk and focus on purpose. And when we think about what it is that our purpose for living is, and we try to intentionally talk about that, because the hope, and I would say my unique hope, is that if we talk enough about purpose, that it at least interrupts all the things that are making you not think about your purpose, all the things that could be frustrating you, all the things that could be getting on your nerves, all the things that could be sending you into depression. When I was I shared this with you guys, during 2020, when I was going through high anxiety. I don't think I've tapped into actual depression, but definitely had all of the trappings of high anxiety. And it was my first time I actually went through counseling. And the highlight was, when you are somebody who preaches purpose and goals and all these things, and then what and understand is beginning to crumble. But you're looking around and seeing things that just multiple abnormal things are happening, and you're just like, wait a second. And everything on the inside is saying, this ain't it. Like, your game plan is about to fail, sir. Like my Ravens, my Ravens game plan did not have the right game plan on Sunday, right? Your game plan isn't working and you're about to lose. And when you're staring at losing, then all of the signs on the inside go off and say, uh-oh. All the alarms are going off. And my body felt that, the physical aspects of the alarms are going off. And, and I kind of just highlighted those two things, ambition and faith. From an ambitious perspective, all the alarms were going off. It's like, what you have identified as your process to accomplish the things that you want, the things that you believe in, all those things, you are getting ready to hit a wall, and you're watching all those things that you built crumble. I had to go back to faith. I had to lean on the faith during that period to say, you created me for a reason. And then you told me to trust you through this process. You created me to do this, to be an ambitious builder of the work that you called me here to do. And I've been trying to do that. Now I'm watching it crumble. So can you guide me through this process? And it took me really having to stay in daily communication with God, and I will highlight the communication factor, because if I didn't stay in communication, that means I wasn't looking to hear anymore. I didn't expect to get guidance from God. And so if I would have gotten to a point where I don't think God talks to me, and I can't expect to get guidance from my source anymore. So now I got to go figure something out. And I can tell you, for me, and that's just me personally, if I would have hit that wall like Job hit that, if I would have been in a Job situation where God just stopped talking to him, he was praying all he could, and everything is crumbling, then yeah. At that point, I'm like, well, where's my source? How am I going to do this? Because am I going to try to figure this out on logic? Or am I just going to commit to a lifestyle, a lifelong process of what Job decided? Job decided, what? All I'm doing is praying anyway. So I may as well just keep doing that. I had 10 kids, you took all my kids. Everything is crumbling. I'm in pain, all that. So it's more of a situation for me is when I went through my rockiest point of what is my source, and am I truly committed? I always told myself that worry and doubt is when I get to the point where I'm fearful, I'm worrying, and I'm doubtful about things, what I'm really saying is I don't trust God. That's what I'm really saying. I'm worrying about this. Oh my God, when can I get this? Am I going to pay my bills on time? Am I going to do this? Is this business going to work? Is my relationship, is it, if I'm doing all that stuff, then I basically just said, I don't trust God. And that is a trigger point in my brain. And so during 2020 and 2021, that's what I kept reminding myself. I don't trust. I'm worrying. I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting. I'm not trusting. And if I'm truly in relationship, either with my wife, my child, my God, whatever the case, if I'm in relationship, I need to have trust, has to be at the solid core of everything that we're doing. And because I believe it that way, that was the only thing that got me through. That was the only thing. Now here's the piece. Going back to that first 0 to 20, that was so preached to me from 0 to 20 that I had so much of that stored in me deeply that I was able to use that when I hit my lowest point. Not everybody has that. No, not everybody don't have that foundation. So where do they go? When it gets really tough, what are the sources? What helps you get through? So that's the point. It's a situation of, some people say, well, I'm at my rock bottom, so I'll take whatever you got right now. So and then if whatever that is, you give it to them, and you keep giving it, and you keep giving it. Whatever's worked for you and it's working, you meet somebody who's in that space, you give it to them, and you sow your seed. Like, they talk about the parable of the sower. You be an ambitious sower. The thing that's worked for you, you give it to them, because we can't assume that the person next to you understands what you understand. We can't assume that. People have their own. I tell my daughter all the time, it's like, you sit there, you go into this classroom with 30 other kids. You cannot assume that when they leave that classroom and go back home, that they're going home into the reality that you go into. That you walk into your door, you have a reality in your house, and you think that all these kids have the same reality. That's not the deal. So what people make, when some of them can't wait to get out of that house so they can become, the dominant force in the classroom, because when they walk in that house, it could be a whole different ball game, right? So we can't assume that folks next to us are breathing the same air, are thinking about the same kind of opportunity. We can't assume it. So we have to be ready and willing to sow. If what has been a blessing to you. I go back, I was having this conversation the other day about, I go back and forth all the time about Booker T and WEB. But when you think about the talented 10th, if you have some information that has helped you to get to where you are, be an ambitious sower and sow that to other folks, because they need it. And even if they don't need it now, they may need it later. So just give it to them. So I'm glad, Pass, that you dove into this. I wanted to just kind of share my January and how I felt with that roller coaster ride of emotions. And it's still prevalent in my mind, just all of it, and it's something I'm glad that I don't think we've delved on this topic at all, really, and not into any great detail. But the great thing is that we all have had experiences, and we have people who are trained, who you've heard from, and others who can dive into it even further. But it's a real thing, man. When I watched about half of that room stand up, and the pastor said, how many of you have ever thought about committing suicide? And half the room stood up. I was blown away. And that is just, you hear about it, they say, oh, it's prevalent in the Black community and that kind of thing. It's another one, you see it. Predominantly Black crowd in a church, and half the folks stand up. That's a different game. So, and Paz, you said one more thing, and we'll finish up after this. We're roughly 2.5 hours into this call, and I know I got to take my daughter to dance class, but you said something else that made me think also, and I've been talking a little bit about this internally, is that parenting doesn't end until you die. And then you think, actually, hopefully parenting continues on even after that, and the fact that Miss Alta reached out to you and said, boy, you're not thinking about committing suicide, are you? Just give it to you raw, rip the Band-Aid off, and just say, hey, just give it to me straight. because what they were talking about in there sounds like you. So give it to me straight, boy, right now. Slap you a couple times and make sure you're straight. So, I mean, how else you gonna say it? And it's a never-ending thing with parenting. Once you have a child, it's, both of my parents are living, thank God, and they still they trust me, but they be like, hey, boy, you all right? I see you got a lot going on over there. You've been moving around. Everything okay? And that's real. So this is we're always somebody's child. At the end of the day, even after they're gone, you still gonna be somebody's child, and you communicating with them. And so Yeah, this is a real thing. So that's all I got. Anybody else want to open up and share before we finish up? We are well past the hour, but we'll open up the call now. Mm.
For the past few months, or less than a month before it happened, we had conversations and all that stuff. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to hunt the good stuff. Okay, what is it? What is it? What's the lesson? What should I take away from all of this? And then sitting in the sanctuary, the service, I realized that whatever she did an excellent. She left here, her name was great.
Mhm.
Like, she completed everything from my understanding. It's like, whatever it was she was assigned to, she completed it. In my case, she found out she had some cavities last year. She wanted to, and good out of network with her insurance. And she wanted to make sure that she did every single thing, every appointment. She's like, what else I gotta do? What else I gotta do? And then she made sure that every dime of it was paid until a few weeks before she went.
Mm.
And it was like, to finish this, to leave here with my name great. Like there will be no fuss, no blemish. And I'm like, okay, you got to keep your name right. You got to keep your identity. That's what I'm going to go with for Kayla.
Yeah.
That was the example of, if I give you my word, I'm going to do it. Just like God. And that was like the God-like thing. And it's like, I have to find the meaning in everything. And I'm like, why was she so adamant about making sure that she paid this thing and that she finished this thing? Why, if this is what she was going to do? I'm fasted with it. It's like, you got to finish right. You got to, if you put your word on it, you got to do it. So don't put your word on everything. Just leave. Yeah, some things, you can't really commit to, but that was the takeaway from it. It might not be a great takeaway, but it was the best I could come up with. Because it needed to make sense to me. Like, why would she do all of this if this is what she knew she's gonna do? But she kept her name great. She finished the job. She finished her task. And that's what I kept hearing over and over again. And even with Morgan State and everything everybody said about her, she did everything in extra.
Yeah.
Until she died. So that was my takeaway, and that's the thing that gives me peace about her depression. I had no idea what she was going through, but I think that.
Yeah.
I gotta log back off. I gotta go back to work.
All right, get to us. Oh wow. I think the last thing I'll say about this is that, especially as we just kind of going through the Dr. King period of his birth and now getting into Black history and all that, it's just that most people think about life from a longevity perspective. We live to get old and gray, and that kind of thing. And that's, like Dr. King say, longevity has its place, right? But that's not the case for everybody. Some people die unexpectedly young, but others plan it, and say this, this is how I want to do it, kind of thing. I remember my dad was telling me that his brother used to always tell him, he said, oh no, I'll be gone before that time. My dad always talked about making it to 100. And he would talk to his brother. They used to say this when they were younger and growing. He said, "Oh no, I'll be long gone before that come around." And that was true, And he was gone. He never hit 70, So people have different plans in their own mind, and it's not for us to understand, if you will, But it's so interesting because I think regardless of what we're pursuing, we're pursuing what we believe is our purpose in the time that we have it. So a lot of times we don't know how this. I can walk outside, get hit by a rock. Was I pursuing my purpose before that rock hit me? And it's one thing if you're working against chance. So you're working against chance. You don't know if you completed everything, but you in the process of. But if you say, no, this is when it's going to end, then to Dr. Dana's point, I'm going to pursue, get everything I need to get done, clean it up, get it done. And, this is it, but in this life, while we're here, it was the thing that made me feel so, I say, blessed and conflicted at the same time, was when I just heard so many people, how they spoke so well and just was how she impacted these folks' lives. And that is the thing at the end of the day, when you can reach people and touch them and advance their life on purpose, and you purposely want it to be of value to somebody else's life. Yeah, I think that's what this whole thing is about. This whole life experience is about. How can we be of value and be a blessing to somebody else's life? That our life was not in vain, and so that is the rub. So, well, we got some good books to come out of this today. The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health by Dr. Teresa Walker. Definitely am excited to jump into my book here, Emmett J. Scott from Tuskegee, and there's so much, but I say the goal here is just to make sure that we stay working on purpose and keeping that fresh at the forefront of our mind and doing the things that help you to dive deeper into fulfilling your objectives in this life. And, so glad that we've had this mental health conversation. I hope we have more. It is taboo like crazy, especially in the Black community. It's just so taboo, and even more so for those who grew up in the church. You grew up in the Black church. It's even more taboo. When you start talking about suicide and things like that, in the Black church community. So it is. It's worth it. It's time, and just go in, man. Especially this. I will say this, and this is one thing that's so real. Folks who are in our generation, Generation X and above, our reality is different. I think where we grew up is different from these new generations, and our experiences are different. And it's one thing we go back to when we were younger and how we got through things, but there's just a whole host of other things involved, and it's important to get support and guidance to help you get through this, especially if you're parenting kids. That's it's real, and to see it from perspective, and to try to be more value than anything and not adding more fuel to the fire, so it ain't like I told somebody the other day. I was like, it's the blessing, being a father is the greatest experience and the most challenging all at the same time, because it requires serious responsibility, and that's what we are. So, all right, speaking of being a father, let me get this little sister to that dance class. Have a good one, folks. We look forward to connecting later this month. Let's stay on top of everything and be blessed. We'll see you soon.